And then he gives us an assignment. So our assignments look different, right? As we are coaching individuals, that whole term coaching can be so very broad, right? It can encompass all different specialties. I've over my decades of coaching, I've met all different types of coaches. You have your business coaches, you have your leadership coaches, you have your personal development coaches, you have sex therapists as coach, you have those individuals who deal with just getting unstuck. You have career coaches, you have all types of coaches. And so once we decide where we're going to be able to utilize our special sauce, our special gifting that God has placed inside of us, then we can decide on who our clients are, what our population looks like, who our people are. Because we need to go to those people, right? We need to go to those people. And so we shared some questions that each coach should be able to deliver in the first day. Sharing those questions, what is the opportunity in this challenge? What options haven't I considered? If I had all the courage I needed, what would I do? So we shared some of these questions that I've learned over the years. How can you accomplish this in 90 days? What is one thing you are willing to do? What sacrifices are you willing to make? We went over these questions. Some questions I typically ask at every session and every encounter because it is important for us to know and to also take away from every session how we're moving forward, whether it's with that client or if it's in general. Are we changing our philosophy? Are we looking at coaching from a different perspective? Do we want to utilize one particular methodology or philosophy in terms of how we are coaching? What is that going to look like? Do I want to do one-on-one coaching, or do I want to do more of like in a training session and offer group coaching? So all of these things, we want to make sure that we are aware and we understand where we're going. And by asking those simple questions such as, what is one takeaway from this session? What is your single greatest challenge here? Based on everything that we've talked about and discussed, what do you feel like your single greatest challenge is? Or what is one thing you can do today to move towards your goal? And so we went over those questions, how we can ask these questions of our clients, and how basically we can ask these questions of ourselves as well. We want to make sure that we're able to move forward in the things that we are called to do in a manner that is going to be, again, like we talked about yesterday, pleasing to God and serving others. So we are doing the thing that we are designed to do, and we are making sure that it happens in a most excellent way. So as we continued forward, we talked about, of course, giving a call to action. On day 2, we started the 4 essential qualities of an effective coach. 4 essential qualities of an effective coach. Day 2 started with create, and then we went into communicate. Create, don't stop dreaming. We talked about The Circle Maker, a book that I've been reading for the second time. Instead of creating the future, we're starting to repeat the past. That's generally where we find ourselves when we don't dream again, when we stop dreaming. In the book, he talks about the Jericho and how the children of Israel marched around the wall 7 times, and on that 7th day, they shouted. And so, that circling, that wall, that Jericho, whatever that thing is for you as a coach, circle it with prayer. Take it to the Lord in prayer and let him help you figure it out. We talked about creating content. What does that need to look like? Well, first of all, like we said, it needs to be pleasing to God and beneficial and serving others. We want to commit to ongoing growth through reading, writing, and clear communication. So as a coach, we want to always be learning. We want to always be growing. We want to always be putting ourselves in opportunities and in environments where we are learning and growing from others. We won't ever have all of the answers, right? And so we always want to strategically place ourselves in rooms and environments where we are constantly learning and growing. We talked about communicate, how to clearly define what it is that you're doing so that others know where you're going and how you can help them. Utilize multiple platforms. We talked about social media. That's a free platform that you can use to grow your business or to scale your business. Networking events, workshops, online seminars. There's a host of things that you can do as a coach just starting out, or even just keeping in touch with what's going on in the community, that don't cost you anything but just log on your computer. And so we want to make sure that we are understanding and learning how to clearly define for others who we are and what it is we're doing in terms of the coaching realm. Understanding who our population of people are is very important, and streamlining our content and our coaching to meet the needs of those individuals. You might ask, well, how do I find out what those needs are? Do a poll. Go on social media and ask a question. Let's say you're interested in coaching parents. Ask a question about mothers who stay at home. What's your greatest challenge? You're staying at home. If you have a degree, if you don't have a degree, what if you want to go back to school, if you want to go back to work, what are all the things? And let the population, let your community define for you what your next step might look like in terms of coaching. Okay, so that was communicate. We talked about that. So we want to make sure that we are taking the initiative to create impactful content, that the content that we are creating is serving our purpose, and our purpose is to please God and serve others. We want to communicate our message clearly and confidently so others know who we are, what we're all about, and how we're here to serve. So here we are on day 3. The next 4 essential qualities of an effective coach for me is going to be commit and contribute. So let's dive in. What do I mean by commit? Well, that's pretty much understood, right? You want to commit to this process that you are beginning. Clearly define it for yourself and be able to define it for others. What the commitment is to serving others. What does that look like? Again, you've got to know what your population, what the community needs. And so you want to make sure that you are meeting those needs, right? So you have to ask. As a coach, we're taught to ask a lot of questions. Being curious is a part of your vernacular. It's a part of your personality as a coach. If you can't ask the right questions, that means you're not going to get the right answers. Myron Golden is one of my favorite business coaches, and he talks about a coaching principle that he follows, and its success only comes from service. So focusing on genuinely how to help clients. We're not in it for the fame, the fortune. We talked about on the first day how coaching is going to look different for everyone. Not everyone was designed to have a global stage where they are coaching millions of people at a time or hundreds of thousands of people at a time, right? Some of us are coaching right in our community. Some of us are coaching, on stages such as in schools, in workplaces, in corporate America. Some of us are coaching in this way. So defining what that is going to need to look like for you will need to be beneficial, because if you don't understand your why and where you're trying to take this thing that God has given you, if you don't understand that and it's not clear to you, there are going to be instances where you're going to feel frustrated. You're going to want to quit. It's going to be too much. You're going to be overwhelmed by all of the things that you see, all of the other coaches that you see out there on social media and on the big screen. You're going to get overwhelmed. So understanding your why and where you're trying to go and who are your people. Like, you want to make sure you're asking in the room, does everybody in the room want to be a coach? Or does everybody, making sure that you're speaking to the right audience. Continuously improve your coaching to meet individuals' needs. So always looking for ways to improve. Always looking for ways to improve. You're wanting to make sure, I always say, every good coach has a coach. You always want to make sure that there are individuals that are pouring into you so that you can continue to move your coaching business forward, whatever that needs to look like for you. So you always want to have someone that you connect with, some way that you have invested in yourself, your business, your coaching, so that you can continue to improve to meet the needs of others. Remember, what we do, it's all about serving others and pleasing God. That's our purpose. Develop empathy and active listening to understand clients better. Now, this could fall also up under communication as well. Communicate, because we must be able to communicate in such a way that we're able to not only project and speak and clearly define and ask the right questions, right? But we also have to be able to listen actively and with empathy. Actively listening, we are providing direct eye contact with an individual or your audience. Look a person in the eye as you are casing and canvassing the room. You are given direct eye contact and they feel engaged with you. You are providing that communication, one of those effective communication skills, your body language, making sure that you're staying open, making sure that you are listening, rephrasing or paraphrasing something someone says or a question that someone has, to ensure that they understand and they get that you are listening. Like, you see them, you hear them, and you're engaged in this process as well. So developing empathy and active listening skills is going to be very important for your clients to feel that they are receiving the best possible service from you. And again, that again is really what we're here for. We're here to please God and to serve others. Committing also, set measurable goals to track progress and accountability. Again, you want to have someone that is keeping you accountable as a coach. Every great coach has a great coach. And so you want to make sure that you take time and look for someone that's going to be able to pour into you in a most effective manner. Someone who can make sure that they are going to be honest with you, giving you productive feedback, making sure that you are staying on track of your goals, all of the things that you are doing to help others. You want to make sure that someone is keeping you accountable in that same way. Be honest and transparent to build your trust. So as you are out and you are meeting others and you are connecting with others, you are overreaching or extending is the word I'm looking for. You're extending your reach by learning about others and their job and how they coach and what their specific nuance is. And as you are doing that, remain honest and transparent. None of us, it doesn't matter what stage a coach is on. They still don't know everything. There's always something to learn, right? There is always something to learn. So being honest and transparent will draw others to you, because they will feel that in your honesty and transparency, that will give them room to be honest and transparent as well. Stay consistent, knowing long-term dedication leads to success. You're going to get anything that is, any gifting that you're walking in and that you're wanting to groom and grow and nurture. There are going to be times where you're going to want to give up. There are going to be times where people won't receive what you have. When you haven't identified your correct audience, like you have not taken the time to figure out, are these my people, or do I need to, go to another room, right? Because you want to make sure that the pearls that you're casting, that it's not cast upon the swine, right? As the scripture says, but that the pearls that you're casting are going to be used for productivity, for progression and to make sure that that individual, through the process of growing and learning through your guidance, will be able to meet their goals and their outcomes, to accomplish everything that they desire to accomplish. But you got to make sure that as a coach, you're remaining consistent, you're remaining dedicated to the process. You are learning and growing, and you are doing all of the things that you then need to transfer to your ideal client. Understanding who that ideal client is going to be very important for you. We talked about this yesterday. So writing down what your ideal client is something that you need to do regularly, because your coaching is going to evolve. It's going to change. It's going to grow. It's going to probably look different from when you first start, hopefully, right? And so as it's changing and evolving into something different, you are still, again, operating in your purpose, pleasing God and serving others, and your assignment may look different, right? So we talked a little bit about this yesterday, about having dominion over the assignment that God gives you, walking in great confidence so that you can begin to establish a mindset of I'm reaching a destiny that God has planned for me. And so making sure that you stay on track, that you remain accountable. You have a coach that keeps you accountable, that allows you into a safe place to bounce ideas off of, to be curious with, to ask you questions that you never have thought about. You know, all of these things are important because these are things, again, that you are going to transfer to your clients or to the individuals that you will be serving. Next, number 4, the fourth element of coaching needs to be contribute. For every coach, no matter big, small, no matter $1 million coaches, no matter, it doesn't matter. Offer support and resources to those without expecting anything in return. Recognizing the importance of generosity is going to be very important. For those of us who understand our purpose as one and the same, pleasing God and serving others, then generosity needs to be a part of your plan as well. So sometimes you're going to do things for free. You want to get the word out. You're going to connect with your community in such a way that you're not expecting anything in return. You're just providing your gift as a service to others. Now, there are times for that. But there are also times for when the gift that you're giving is going to be received, like the gift. And when I say your gift, I'm sure everyone understands, but the gift that God has placed inside of you to operate as a coach in the industry. There are times that you will give things away, but there are also times where you're going to be paid for the service that you do. There is nothing worse than someone that understands that as a coach, and this is me I'm talking about, I recognize and I understand that this is ministry for me. But the worst thing that I can begin to believe that because this is ministry for me, that I'm not supposed to get paid for it. No, that's not how God designed us. He designed us with gifts inside of us that will make room for us. But there are times where your generosity, you're going to give things away. Inspire and enable others to reach their full potential by providing encouragement and guidance. You know, as a coach, you're going to find that you're doing that all day long in every marketplace, in every scenario, in every situation. So you are constantly going to be giving good nuggets and, encouragement and guidance. I started off the first day by sharing with everyone who joined that one of my spiritual gifts is encouragement and exhortation, which aligns wonderfully with coaching. And so I get to encourage while I'm working. I get to guide while I'm working. I get to do all of these things that God has placed inside of me to do, that I flow in, that I feel fulfilled in every day, whether I am being paid for it or not. It's just a flow. Like, some coaches, if you're starting out new as a coach, you may not have completely identified or discovered what that gifting is inside of you and how to translate it into becoming a coach. And I understand that, and it takes work. But as long as you do the things that you flow in, you think about those things that you lose all track of time when you get to do it. Like you just time just flies, and you think you've been doing it for 30 minutes, and here it is, an hour and 30 minutes. When people say to you, wow, that was awesome. Wow. When I had a student to tell me this today. I've been coaching, doing some emotional intelligence coaching for athletes, college athletes. And a student said to me in probably our third or fourth session, he was like, every time I get to sit down and talk with you, I'm inspired. I just go out there and I feel like I can rule the world. And I was like, that's awesome. But what I don't want you to do is get dependent upon me. Be dependent on the God-given gifts that he's instilled in you and you're able to use for his glory. And so I was able to redirect that thought, but I get what he was saying. He really appreciates me pouring into him. And so that's what you want to hear from others. So you'll know if you're on the right track, if you need to redirect, if you need to guide in a different way. Maybe you've lost your why. Maybe you have not committed fully to this thing that you call God-given. And so maybe you need to take a step back. That sometimes happen. Take a step back, reevaluate, write down some things that we feel that God is speaking to us in our spirit. Or maybe someone has spoken to you individually and said, hey, have you ever thought about this? Or wow, when you did that, that was awesome. You should try that more, or whatever. Sometimes people can call out of you exactly what it is you're supposed to be walking in. And they call it out of you because you're doing it so flawlessly and flowing in it. It doesn't seem like it's anything different or anything, that is really sticking out to you to be something that you can share with others. It's just something that you flow in. I call it's your flow. And so sometimes because it's so natural to you and you flow in it, someone else has to say, hey, when you do X, Y, and Z, that just really made a difference in my life. That shifted my train of thought. And so that's just something that you can think about. If you are still trying to clearly identify the track, the journey, the road that you are to take in this coaching endeavor, just take some time and put in the thought energies with that. Take some time and just write in your journal some of the things that you enjoy doing, that you can definitely benefit your community for. Some of the things that people have come to you and talked to you about, and then you've been able to console them or provide them with peace or give them a word, an encouraging word. Help individuals identify and establish meaningful, achievable goals that align with their values and aspirations, while all in fostering a sense of purpose and direction. So this is what you get to do as you're contributing the gift that God has placed inside of you to be used for his glory, right? To please him, but to also serve others. So as you are contributing in this way, you will be able to constantly be on the lookout of what you need to work on, what you need to pour into, what you need to feed, and what you need to get rid of or kill. What do you need to tap into? Who do you need to call? What's somebody that you've met some years ago and there wasn't a real connection because you didn't have anything in mind or similar, where you guys weren't similar, but because of the journey that you're on now, that may be different. So reaching out, having a cup of tea with someone just to learn more about who they are and the journey that they've been on. Finding that coach is going to be so important for you, because again, every great coach needs to have a coach, and it helps us to remain accountable to the service of others. And it also helps us to remain diligent about the work that we are doing to please the Father. And so understanding that and knowing that these 4 principles for an effective coach, 4 essential tips for an effective coach, you will be able to, looking over these things, you will then be able to formulate your own identity around these four principles, right? Every coach, you go into coaching with your own philosophy, your own mindset and thought process around what it means to serve others. Sometimes, again, you will get that from your community. You will get that from populations of people so that you will be able to know, what direction should I take this in? Am I more affluent in a career coaching others to transition in careers or improve their careers? Or could I be more helpful, because where I've had the most agitation, and I talked about this on the first day, sometimes where your biggest agitation is, it's usually tied to your assignment, the God-given assignment that he has for you. And so if you can look at it that way to help you streamline who your people are, where your population, that we talk about in the coaching industry, what is your niche? And I hate that because it's used so much, but I love the understanding, okay, let me find my people. And you find your people, that to me, it says these are the people that need to hear from me. I have something that God has given me specifically for these people, for my people. And so understanding who they are, where to find them, how are they going to find me, utilizing your social media platforms, utilizing the spaces in your community, getting connected with professional organizations and groups in your community that is going to be able to help you to find your people. And once you find your people, that will help you to really identify and clearly determine what it is and how you're supposed to be serving them. So the four concepts, four key principles, the four essential ways on how to coach is communicate, create. Let me put them in order. Create, communicate. What's the third one? Commit, and then contribute. If we include all of these aspects in your coaching, you're going to be fine. Like, you're going to be so fine, because in each step, you're going to be seeking guidance, understanding. You're going to be making the necessary connections. You're going to be collaborating with others. You're going to be doing all of the things to ensure that you are giving back to those who desperately need you, or they desperately need not you, but what God has given you to give to them. So that is the fourth day. I wanted to end a little bit early because I wanted to allow some time for questions. I tell you what, since I have started coaching way back in 2013, I guess 2013, and so I've learned so much, and I've been that one that, I'm always looking outside of myself first to get the answers. But over the years, I've learned that God has given me everything I need, everything I already have inside of me. And how do I grow that thing? How do I nurture that thing? How do I bring that thing to the table so that it adds value to others? Well, I have to keep pouring in. I have to keep reading. I have to keep writing. I have to keep listening, right? Taking time for meditation, biblical meditation, quietly hearing from God. What is it that you want me to do? Where do you want me to go? Who are my people? Right? Going to be very helpful, because another thing that I've learned as a coach is that as a coach, we're always pouring out. We're always giving to ourselves. We're always finding ourselves in situations where others are coming to us. They're asking for advice. They're asking for knowledge, wisdom. And so we're always pouring out. But you as a coach have got to identify, how do I replenish? How do I replenish everything that I've poured out so that the next day I'll have something to give, right? You've got to take some time off. You got to unplug. You got to learn how to unplug. If you haven't learned how to unplug, I'm telling you, you got to learn how to unplug. People will take as much as you give as long as you allow. So you've got to learn how to unplug. You've got to learn how to refresh and replenish yourself so that you can continue to give out. You've got to continue to grow and learn. So in order to continue to grow and learn, place yourself strategically. We don't have time to be wasted. So place yourself strategically in rooms, in environments that is going to be poured into you, that you're going to be learning and growing from. So I wanted to take time just to allow whoever is on to go ahead and unmute yourself if you have any questions about anything we've talked about over the course of the 3 days, from start to finish, if you were here. If not, I'll be happy to answer any question that you might have based on my level of wisdom and knowledge that God has given me and the experiences that I've gained over these decades of coaching. So if you have a question, I am open.